Welcome back to the show, everybody. I am pleased, honored, and super excited to have a fellow Arate brother here on the show, Jory Evans, CEO of several organizations, Evans Trucking, Evans Pro Developments, Evans HD, and I'm sure there's a lot more he has going on, but welcome to the show, Jory. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Kip. It's great to be here. Excited to hang out with you and talk business and leadership and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I usually try to kind of kick off the show with just talking about your origin story. Maybe just tell us about, kind of comic book style. What's the origin of Jory Evans? Where do you come from, and business wise, personally, however you want to take it?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm from Canada first off, so the great white north, if you want to call it that. If you're you know what that's about.
I do.
Um, but so I started really young. I always joke that I finished school early because they wouldn't pay me to stay. So I got dropped out of school. My dad was a truck driver, recently bought my uncle out, had a few trucks, doing the entrepreneurial business journey, and I wanted in on that action, and then I wanted to get after it. So my impatience dragged me out of that. And so I started working with him. We had 5 trucks at that time, and it was kind of I entered into the scene, and we started working that out and learning business. My dad had some kind of like business training, and he'd spent some time reading the books and doing that kind of thing going in, and so he really pushed me towards going that direction. And I think when I was 16 and I started with him, he said, well, you're going to get your first raise when you finish this book. And he made me do a book report on how to win friends and influence people with Dale Carnegie, like one of the
Excellent.
typical, like the basic book. And it's like, at the time when I was that age, I'm just like,
Yeah.
and I'm a 16-year-old kid trying to lead and figure out how to operate in the business world with like 50-plus-year-old men, and like, I'm a punk kid. I don't know anything, right? And they were very clear that was the case, and that they didn't want to listen to me about that kind of stuff. So I had a really hard trajectory of learning how to lead people that are older and wiser and longer around. And so you got to win these people over, and winning friends and influencing people is like, it's what I had to learn to do, and it was great. And so that kind of sparked me off in going down that road of the reading the books and learning about people skills and leadership and business. And it opened a whole kind of insatiable educating myself journey that I went on from there. And I've read now hundreds and hundreds of books on various topics, and self-educated, if you want to look at it that way. So that I have to give my dad credit for kind of starting that journey and going that direction. So fast forward, however many years, we're building the trucking company up. I started in 07. So my second year in business with my dad was the 08 recession period. And so we just got asses handed to us for years, and I think, man, I look back, as hard as it was, and I just think what a blessing it is to have grown up in that environment and to know what really hard and what it takes to make a business come out of the ground and survive through that kind of thing. And it was the best lessons that I could have learned, was to have to build a business through massive recession and through disastrous financial terms, and to overcome in those types of situations, created a kind of grit and mental toughness that's required to really be good in business in the long term, right? So went through that, grew the trucking company. We were probably around 20, I don't know, probably 30-ish trucks, little by little up, and of that, over the course of 10 years, 5 to 30. And then I went, like, there were other opportunities out there, and having my dad having started this company and coming in, I just had this like desire to start something from myself. Like, I wanted to go do this from the beginning. So we opened up a mechanic shop. It was a vertical. We already were doing some of our own mechanic work, and I just saw a huge opportunity because everyone around us sucked, and I hated the service we were getting, and it was a real problem for us. I was like, well, I can solve this problem for us and for everyone else around here. So started Evans HD. Now, what year would have that been? Probably around 2017, 18, something like that. I should know that. But anyway, so we started this little mechanic shop, and it's had some tough years learning our way through that and how to run it and all that kind of stuff. But we grew that from one technician to five techs, and 2-3 million in revenue. Built a new building 4 years ago now. Moved in there with five techs. This within 2 years had 15 techs in that building, and then we just completed our renovations. Now we have 50,000 square foot shop, and we'll be getting up 20 plus technicians now, and over $10 million in revenues in that business. And the trucking we're just shy of 100 trucks right now.
Wow. Yeah, that new building's absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you have
Unbelievable.
check it out, we built it
Yes.
the coolest truck shop ever. So that's
Yeah.
the extent of it. And then again, when we needed our first building, I was kind of like, I went out and visited some builders and saw what was available in our area, and I'm like, this is terrible. Like, this is just absolutely terrible. And so I went, well, we could do this better. So we started Evans Pro Developments, which is a commercial construction and development company. And so we've built a couple of our buildings, and now a couple more buildings for various other customers, and we're growing that business as well. So, that's the trajectory we're on. It's been wild, to go from zero to I think we're about 150 employees now, roughly $50 million in revenues between the three organizations. We have real estate portfolios and other things that are growing now too. But it's been wild, and it's been quite the trajectory. And I can, you set vision and you set values and you grow things and go, and it's amazing how 10-year goals can become 3-year goals when you're and you're going at it, and where you're going and what you want to do, right? Like, things happen, things go.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's the typical entrepreneurial thing. Like, you had a need personally that you saw, and then you create a new business to solve that. And then you're solving other people's problems multiple times. What are some just future trends or opportunities that you're seeing now that you're most excited about? Whether it's just in the business or new things out there to potentially pursue?
Yeah, like we just went through an acquisition in January. We bought another trucking company, and we're kind of bringing them in, and they're a diversification. So, we've been a flat deck trucking company, North America wide, and so this other company hauls cars mostly, predominantly. So it's still trucking, but it's a very different type of business. And so that was a new thing for me that I just went through this year, and that is actually an opportunity that exists for young people in business right now, is that there's so many retirement age boomers, if you want to call them that are Gen Xers and boomers that are looking to get out of business, and there's nobody coming to buy them, right? Like that, it's 10-1, I think, right now, is the ratio of new business owners entering to business owners leaving, right? And so there's a ton of opportunity. I get approached 3 to 5 times a month. Hey, are you interested in buying our business?
Really? Wow.
Yeah, it's wild, and there's great opportunities to do that. So people who are in the entrepreneurial vein, who are excited and hard driving and want to do business, like you can start a business from the ground up, and that's a great thing to do and to learn from, really. But you can speed your process up so much by buying an existing business and growing it from there. Because again, I super recommend Cody Sanchez. If you don't follow her online, she's
Sure.
very in that vein and talking about that, and has the statistics and how to do it and all that kind of thing better than I could ever say it. But I think the great opportunity for young entrepreneurs is the swallowing up of existing businesses and the massive growth and improvement that exists there. The other thing I'll say is that in the transportation industry and in our economy right now, we're kind of in a really weird recession-y period, especially in the transportation. It's one of the hardest seasons we've had probably since '08. And trucking transportation is on like a 4-year cycle. So every 4 years, we tend to have a bit of a downturn. This is a pretty heavy one. So that used to hurt us a lot more in that cycle year. But this year, it's become a big opportunity, because with our growth and our progress that we've made, downturns become opportunities, because strong one there, it kills everyone else out of the way. And then when things turn around, you gain this market share. And when looking back over the last 18 years, our biggest gains and biggest growth and biggest profits have been post downturn years. And so now, instead of just trying to survive the downturn year, now we're preparing to take over the
Huh.
market should be available to us in the coming, like in the following year. So instead of looking months ahead, we started looking years ahead, and it's made us play a different game, which is it's a great opportunity. It takes maturity in your business to get there.
For sure.
Most, but man, it can be exciting in the midst of like a shitstorm, frankly.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That is exciting. Everybody
And
else is. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
it's not unique to our industry. There's a lot of industries that are struggling right now. If you're in the right place in the right time and have the right mindset, you can see a humongous opportunity that exists in the next few years following the decimation of certain industries.
Yeah. Why is there a downturn right now in trucking? Any
Well,
idea?
how long do we have?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
I would say the biggest reason for this one is one, it's pre-election year, and so a
Okay.
lot of people cards tight in an election year because they don't know what's going to happen, and so a lot of people don't move. Our transportation, like we're flat deck, so we're commodity based moving, and so a lot of people aren't building. A lot of people are holding off on projects. Interest rates are high. That's
Mm.
another thing that's or higher than they have been. But the big problem in trucking is an oversupply because they pumped so much money into our Canadian and U.S. economies during COVID that they created this huge glut. So the transportation industry did really well and grew massively. I think the statistic was 1.4 million trucks on the road in the States 2020. By the end of 22, 1.7 million. So it's
Wow.
like almost a 25% increase in trucks on the road, so oversupply of transportation, but the market could bear it because it was so overstimulated by the finances, and now the government's pulling that all back in, and
Sure.
all that money is being drawn out of the economy, which is then brings us back to pre-COVID kind of market thought process. And
Uh-huh.
so all those people that entered the market are now panicking and fighting to the death for the little work that's
Huh.
available, right? And it's this cyclical thing, but the massive injection of money into the economy over the last 3 years is really it's coming to roost now. It's
Yeah.
a reality.
Yeah. I think that's hitting every industry. Absolutely.
Yeah.
How about
Mhm.
maybe switching to leadership? We touched on it a little bit. What's like one of the biggest leadership lessons you've learned that's been particularly valuable for you in growing your businesses?
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of leadership lessons to learn. The biggest thing that I learned and what really opened the door to our massive growth as a company is realizing the importance of values and community in business, and that what people are truly your greatest it's not a commodity. They're the greatest aspect of business. If you want to grow and you want to succeed, you need people. You can't do it by yourself.
Uh-huh.
And to do that, you got to become a good leader. You got to be able to connect with people, and you got to create something special that draws the right people into your organization. And when we were uh, in the early days of Evans HD and starting a construction company, I was kind of I would say I was tapped of my ability to continue communicating and leading. I didn't know how to do it better than what I was doing. Um, and I was really struggling. I didn't think I could do any more than maybe, I think maybe at the time 50, 60 employees. Didn't know what to do with that. And when I figured out, which I'll pump, EOS program is one that I
Uh-huh.
really, we started using at that time. And that I'm a huge believer in and it's just a system or a process. There's a lot of other varieties of similar process, but getting your vision, your mission, and your core values hammered out within your organization so that you can lead out of that foundation it's transformational. It changed everything for us, right? And so in leadership, I think the important thing is to realize the values that you stand for, and then to inject, like, create a foundation in your business through your values so that you draw in the right people and the right customers. And once you get those right people into your organization, it's just a whole new open door of growth. The things that were holding us back in those days were that we didn't have the right people and the right set of values. And you can't lead people who don't prescribe to your values, right?
Yeah.
They're just never ending people problems. So that would be one of my biggest um, things that I could say that gained value and momentum for us as a business and me as a leader is making sure that I had the right people before I even put them in the right seats. Just get the right people, and your mind will be blown on how you speed up and multiply.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We run our firm on EOS too and have a lot of EOS clients and do a lot of searches for like integrators, for that visionary to to implement EOS and take it to the next level. Maybe what's your approach to attracting and retaining like high performance leaders for the business within your EOS model?
Yeah, well, it's tough because I think in our scenario now, there's a lot of older people. I'm going to say older, but like mature leaders leaving the marketplace right now, and
Okay.
it's huge voids everywhere. And then there's a lot of people who haven't been investing in new leaders. And so people have come up in the workforce not having to lead or knowing how to lead or any of those things. And so we've had to really invest in the people within our organization. And yeah, we brought in some good leaders from outside, but the majority of really key people in our organization were grown in our organization, right? And so a few years ago, about shortly after we started EOS, I realized that as the head of our companies and as the lead person, that I needed to not just lead people, but I needed to lead and grow leaders specifically,
Mhm.
because I needed to create another layer. I can't individually lead well 150 people. I can lead 12 people, 10 people, 12 people
Uh-huh.
pretty effectively, but I can't lead to the quality level that I expect within our organization. I can't touch those people like well enough and care for them well enough and uplift them and teach them and guide them directly, which means I need more leaders. And I just didn't have them, if you know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
And
Absolutely.
that I needed to grow leaders. And so using the EOS meeting rhythm and leadership teams and those types of things, I kind of picked out the people who had great potential and who were on the best on values in our company, and started like leading them and growing them. And we do leadership training weekly with the about dozen people that need it, and even other people who want to access it now in our organization, who aren't necessarily handpicked for that, have access to our leadership training.
Yeah.
And that, again, another game changer.
Yeah. So what does your leadership training look like? How do you actually do it?
I personally we do I do it in quarters. So I pick a
Okay.
leadership topic or book per quarter, and then we read the book as a group and we discuss it weekly. And then I often send out podcasts to guys and have individual meetings with leaders about monthly. So say if I have my 10 or 12 key people that I'm trying to meet with, I'll have one meeting with them individually per month, specifically to discuss their leadership and what they're going through and how they're growing. And then we'll be going through a leadership book just to help them grow and individually. And ideally for me, it's to spark something in them, because I can't drag people along.
Huh.
They need to be motivated on their own and inspired to do it on their own. And so I'm creating a structure for them to start that momentum. But ideally, that's just a spark that sets them on fire to want to grow in their leadership, because they're the right person, right? They're going to do it out of their own motivation, not because I'm motivating them.
Yeah. No, that's incredible. That's fantastic. How about servant leadership? How do you employ servant leadership into your philosophy of how you're running the companies?
Yeah, I think that's a right people thing. Like people who are good leaders understand, whether they call it servant leadership or not, they understand that, because it's a dichotomy thing. There's you can call it lording leadership or selfish leadership or whatever you call it. I'm leading because I'm looking to get something out of it for me. It's going to benefit me to lead, or I'm leading because I'm actually trying to make other people better, and I want to uplift them and grow them, right? And so the people that are the right type of leaders understand that leadership's actually the hardest job, not the easiest job.
Hmm.
And looking to get an easier position and take advantage of other people doing more work for them. They're realizing that when you're in leadership, you're there to solve problems and uplift and remove barriers and make people better and more effective, right? The leader always has the hardest job.
Uh-huh.
And if
Absolutely.
you accept that, then you'll be a great servant leader. But if you're there to go, okay, well, I'm literally going to do as little as possible and delegate everything to everyone else, because that's why I worked to get into leadership, you're not a right fit for that is, right? So I think it's a heartedness. It's people that have a heart for leadership and a heart for people. are the right fit for that and can learn servant leadership. But the best, like, you got to be a selfless person. You got to actually care about people. One of my, I'm going to bungle this, but one of my favorite quotes is that if you're leading people and they're not growing faster than they would have without your leadership, then there's no point in you being there,
Yeah.
right? You are supposed to multiply others. You're a multiplier by leading them, and you're making them better, and you're sharpening them and making them more effective. And if you're not doing that, then you're not leading them. You're just existing.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. How about
Right.
you're kind of going into culture? How would you describe the culture of the business? What kind of culture are you trying to foster with you and with all your leaders?
Yeah, as cultures, like, we have core values, and so, like, core values kind of is the basis of the culture, but culture is more, the day-to-day reality of what it looks like to be in community, right? So our mission of our company is to create excellent jobs for awesome people,
Hmm.
set them up for success, and make them feel like an integrated part of our community, right? And so the most powerful aspect of our businesses, in my mind, is actually the community. And that's when you said, well, how do you draw good people or the right people or things? It's the community. That's what I can offer people that other people can't. It's, you can offer someone a salary, or you can offer them benefits, or you can offer them, their dream job, or whatever you think it is. But if they got to work in a community, or as a lone wolf, or as an individual, most people, they can, like, the people who are the real rock stars, they got all the offers in the world,
Right.
right? They can get as much money as they need. They can get all the benefits they need. They can work the situation around to whatever they want. But a lot of these companies can't offer them a community they're going to really love being a part of on the day to day. And that is where we spend a lot of our time, is making sure that our teams are our communities. They're not just, acquaintances at work. I often tell people when I hire them, which hiring is one of my favorite jobs, because I just
Uh-huh.
know when you come work for us, your life's going to get so much better.
Uh-huh.
That way. I don't know how to tell you or prove that to you, but the reality is, if you come work here, you're going to be so much happier, and that's because you're going to love the people that you work with. And our company is just right full of just so freaking spectacular people. Um, but that's the differentiator. That's what draws people in, because other people can't just create that. They can't buy that. They can't, like, it takes intentionality, and it takes a group of that specific right people for that culture to be there, right? And
Yeah.
like begets like, right? Like, when people see that, and like, their family members or their friends or their acquaintances are just, they love the people that they work with, and people comment all the time. I'm going down a rabbit trail here, but
No, go for
um,
it.
when we tour a lot of people through our building, because it's a spectacular space, and a lot of people want to see how we do things and what our business is about. So I'll tour them through, and it's very, very common that they come in. It's like, man, everyone is so happy here. Like, they're smiling and they're
Uh-huh.
joking. They seem to be enjoying themselves, and they're having a good time. And it's just they. And I'm like desensitized to it, because this is my reality. Hey, I'm just like, well, this is just work, and they're like, no, 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 this is not normal anywhere, right?
Right.
And you forget it. You walk into these other businesses, and people are just in the grind, right? Like, they're there for their paycheck. They sit in their car. Okay, it's 5 to 8. 8 go. They go inside, and then when their break comes, they go out to their car, and they're like, oh, okay, only 2 more hours, right? And it's just like,
Uh-huh.
I can't imagine living in that reality. Like, it's mind-boggling to me. You spend most of your life at work. You should truly enjoy the people that you're around, right?
Right.
And so,
Absolutely.
and we do a lot of things to try and make that better. But it just, get the right people together, and that culture is going to happen, right?
Yeah. How about your core values? You mentioned those a few times. We know how important, making decisions based on core values. What are your core values, and how do you use those to hire and promote and fire and run the business?
Yeah, we did. I really like how EOS, the exercise of doing the core values, because a lot of people go, well, where do we even begin to do core values? And I think, like, if you're looking to do that in your business, it's a really good model to dig them out. And it's not a one time thing. Like, you
Right.
start somewhere and you iterate, iterate, iterate. But our values are the biggest one is positive attitude. in our trucking company. Interestingly, our three companies all have each their own values. So
Okay.
there's similarities, but there are differences because their cultures and kind of personalities are a little bit different because of the types of people that work in them. I'm talking about the trucking company because it's kind of the bigger one. But so positive attitude, good, excellent communication, humble and confident. I should know these a lot quicker than this. Helpful, serving, and kind, striving for excellence. And there's one more. Yeah, it'll come to me.
Yeah.
But it's these things. Positive attitude is a huge one, I think, and it's our number one core value is that if you have a positive attitude, man, you can overcome so much, right? And it controls the environment. When you have negative people around, they bring everybody down, and it's really hard. And people can't, like, negative attitude and non-growth mindset, people cannot survive in our environment. They just can't. Like, they get like positive pushed out of the building. And it's a beautiful thing to just be around people who are uplifting and positive and looking for the positive in every situation. You know, that in any job, in any business, we deal with challenges all day long, right? And so just to remain positive through that it's a game changer for the company, for everyone there, just to continue to move ahead and stay positive regardless of the challenges that we face.
Yeah. I mean, mindset and positivity, and it's just so powerful. Create your own reality. How about, and you have a unique perspective on this, and I'd love to hear what you have to say here about being in Canada. Just talking about free markets and capitalism. How has that played out? Or, I mean, in what ways are you fostering capitalism or free markets, or how does it feel to run your businesses in Canada? I mean, my perspective is the United States, but what unique impacts or influences does being in Canada, the Canadian government, have on just capitalism and free markets and being entrepreneurial?
Yeah, it's interesting. Man, that's a deep subject.
Yeah.
But America, Canada, like, we have Justin Trudeau in here, and he's the furthest thing from a capitalist
Yes.
world. Like, if it was up to him, we'd be communist China right now. And he's trying to move us that way daily. So, like, our market is tightening down, and there more regulation and more limitations and new carbon taxes and new taxes. And so they're constantly squelching and pushing down on freedom and capitalism and everything else right now. With Biden in the States, you guys are maybe 4 years behind us. Like, we've had Trudeau 4 years longer than you've had Biden. So we're just further down the left-wing road than you guys are at this point. But I find it with Americans, you guys you won't accept your freedom taken away. And I love that about America. We deal, like, all of our work is inter-US and Canada. So we're in both markets all the time. And it's very telling to us, what ours is versus what America. And so it's definitely challenging. Thankfully, we're from Alberta. It's the Texas of Canada.
Right. Yes.
In rednecks of Canada. Our provincial government, or similar to state government, is extremely conservative and capitalistic in Alberta. And so living in Alberta and working in Alberta allows us to be more free than other provinces are. But yeah, it's a really challenging scenario when your government is constantly trying to cap off opportunity and stop, like, every scenario you guys face where you might have, like, green initiatives or anti-oil protests or limitations on how you can do business or labor laws or all these additional regulations. Ours is about double down or triple down on what you guys are, right? And so people just don't, especially in the last 10 years, there's been huge confidence lost in Canada in global business, right? Like, there's billions upon billions, probably even trillions now, of investment that has left Canada in the last decade because it's unstable ground for capitalist business to grow, right? We have the most resources as a country almost in the world here. And we're trying to, we have a prime minister that says we need to leave the oil in the ground, right? Like, don't cut the tree down, right? So it's challenging, and yet, I find as humans we overcome, right?
Mhm.
You can get really upset about the government's policy and what they're doing, and it definitely has an effect. But at the end of the day, we all have to go to work. We all have to make our mortgage payments. We all have to find a way to make it work. And so, like, the people overcome, right? And so the governments come and they go and they change, and they can go left and then they can go right, but we all show up and go to work each day. And so the economy chugs ahead. And if you have a creative entrepreneurial mindset, you're going to find the opportunity that exists in any realm that you're in, right? And things can't come and go. I was having an interesting conversation with Trump being in before, and then Biden, and
Uh-huh.
then what's going to happen with this election. And again, I Trump was amazing for the U.S. economy.
Yes, he was.
As the dramatic, crazy politics wheel goes around in the media and everything else. All that aside, as much as he was good for economy, we're an import export company and we deal with American US. He was a disaster for us as
Yeah.
and shipping because of all the tariffs and the changes and renegotiating NAFTA and all the types of things that happened. And so, as much as I love the capitalists and the right wing, when you're a nationalist leader, you also can wreck other countries in the process. As a Canadian, I think Trump's good shit, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it was pretty disruptive to our business and our markets as well. So
Uh-huh.
you can go left or you can go right. At the end of the day, you're as an entrepreneur, you got to solve problems,
Right.
right? Whatever problems come your way, every problem creates an opportunity, and if you can see it that way and look at how you can bring value to that situation, you can make it happen, and that's the beauty of capitalism.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, that's what I tell our people in our firm. It's like we can create our own economy. It's like people freak out about who's going to be the next president or who's in power. It's like, yes, it matters and it influences and things change. You need to pivot based on who it is. But like you said, you still got to go to work. You still have to run your business. We still have to thrive. And, we always talk about separation season in Arte. I mean, it is separation season, no matter who's in office. You have to find a way to pivot and make it work and grow. And I mean, like you said, the downturn in the trucking industry, and now you can take market share and you know, just take advantage and go on the offense when everybody else is freezing or going on defense.
You got to find a way. Like that's
Right.
the Stockdale paradox of I
Mm,
will overcome eventually somehow. Ed just talked
right.
about it in a podcast a week or two ago, and it's so true. It's like I will win one way or another. There's no losing for me. I'm going to keep getting back up, and I'm going to keep coming until I blow through this wall. And so there's adversity on both sides politically, right? Like it just said,
Right.
Trump created time of adversity, while Biden's creating a different time of adversity. Trudeau's creating adversity. Previous government created a different kind of change and adjustment, right? And so I'm just going to win. It doesn't matter, right? And you can't get hung up in these things. These people just get so. I remember when friggin' Obama got in. Oh no, the world.
Yeah.
Just like he had some of her best years ever under Obama. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
matter, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And all these people that, no matter who it is, they say they're going to leave the country when, I mean, in the United States, depending on who gets in office and nobody ever goes. It's like, just, you don't need to say those kind of things. How
Well, and
about, yeah,
get
go ahead.
hung, like it becomes a stumbling block,
Right.
right? Quit being distracted.
Right. I mean,
Find the
control.
problem, overcome it.
Yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about control the controllables. Like, what can you actually control and put your focus there? And I like so much that just that idea of like, I say this all the time, that we have like 100 units of thought every day, and you got to decide how you're going to spend those units because it's, you're going to focus on positive things or things you can control or negative things and things that are out of your control because you only have 100 units. So like you need to figure out how to dial it in and have focus on those things you can really influence and control, um, versus being someone that just is a victim and thinks everything's out of their control and they have no agency over their life.
Yeah, spend your energy on the things that you can change, or
Right.
moving ahead there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's yeah. Oh man, to me, it's good versus evil. It's always been
Right.
that way. It's going to change, so just pick your side and start hammering, right?
Yeah. How about just kind of looking back, what are a decision or an action that you've had that you've said is or you've thought is was really pivotal to my success or to where you are right now in the journey? Any things that jump out?
Yeah. The first live Arte event I went to
Mm,
was in St. Louis, and which Ed and Andy and Goggins was there. But
okay.
my question was selected to ask Ed, and it was basically, 10 million to 30 million to 100 million. What do you have to do different to overcome these different stages of business? Because we were shifting from that 10 million to 30 million, and now shooting towards 100, and it's just such a different thing. Different skills are needed, different. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what needs to change, like what do I got to do different? And Ed said basically, more or less, to wrap it into a more concise thing, is that, well, you have to change.
Mm,
You are the lid on your business, and if you don't grow into the person that you need to be to lead other leaders, to be able to manage all the challenges that come, like, you have to grow. And if you don't grow, then the number doesn't grow, or the situation doesn't grow, the opportunity doesn't grow. It comes down to you. And so if you can't have the self-control and the discipline and the ability to continue to grow as an individual and grow yourself, like, you have to lead yourself in that respect. This is
mhm.
really lead other people, but you also have
Yeah.
to lead yourself. If you can't lead yourself first and continue to progress and grow and get to be more than you are, then everything else will fall beneath. You can't lead an organization that's bigger and more capable than you. It will always fall back down to the level that you're at. So it turns the finger back around and points it back at you, right? It's You have to be the one that grows and changes, you first, right? And so that really changed my mindset about what I needed to do as an individual to overcome the next levels and the glass ceilings that I was facing at the time. It was like, okay, well, I have to get better. I have to invest in myself. I need to get more training. I need to connect with more people. I need to read more books. I need to get my health more in order. I need to
Uh-huh.
manage my time. I need to get real about who I'm going to need to be to lead this organization going forward. And it was pretty pivotal for me, and it helped skyrocket our next phase of growth. Is the reality is that I was, yeah.
That's amazing.
Hmm.
It's so true.
It's so true. And everyone thinks there's these magic solutions. Like, I'm going to ask Ed that question. He's going to be like, okay, go to this website and
Right.
then thing, and then put that in, and this AI is going to now run your company better.
Yeah.
Like, there's no magic solution. Like, do the work, right? And grow. There's no magic solution. It's effort, it's time, it's energy, it's growth. And you can't overcome it. And that's why people don't get there, is because they just aren't disciplined enough. They don't have the mental toughness. Um, they just don't have the discipline to do what it takes to grow themselves to that point. They give up.
Yeah. Well, you may have just answered this next question, but I'll ask it anyway, and maybe you have another thought. What advice would you give to a young entrepreneur trying to, aspire to succeed in today's economic climate?
Yeah, I think, well, there's a lot of things. One thing I'll say is finding mentors that can help you overcome these kind of stages, right? And RTA is a form of that. Ed and Andy are mentoring from afar. You
Mhm.
can get mentorship through podcasts. You can get mentorship through books. And not every mentor has to necessarily be um, in, like, one-on-one. I think that you need that as well. So find people who've tread the road that you want to go on, and then learn from them and connect with them and get in proximity to them. You need to do that. Like, even like podcasts like this, when people come and listen to this, if you can find people who've just been through what they're going to go through, it's the keys to the doors that
Uh-huh.
you're trying to bang your head against, right? Like, some good advice from some quality people is a game changer, right? And the bigger that your organization gets, the more access and activity that you're doing. One little piece of advice can be worth millions of dollars,
Right.
but a lot of people don't believe that, so they don't invest in it, right? Like, how much does coaching cost? How much does going to a conference or an event cost? How much does buying a book cost? How much of your time is it going to take, right? How much effort does it take to get your health in the right place? Like, you have to invest in these things, right? And mentoring is something that you have to actually be intentional and invest in. Find other people to be around that can sharpen you and that can open the doors that you need to get opened, so that you can continue to run.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, last question. Thinking about legacy, how are you working to build like a lasting legacy through your businesses?
Yeah, man. Oh, I think about this a lot. And this is a big part why I talk about community and values. Um, so many entrepreneurs build a business that's completely surrounded by whether they're there or not, or they have to be the operator, they have to be the leader. Um, they if they disappear, the business disappears. There's nothing left behind. Well, there can be almost no legacy left in that case. Legacy is what endures when you go away. So if you go away and it breaks down and disappears, there's no legacy, right? You leave your legacy in people. You don't leave it in organ like dollars and cents and assets and those types. Like that's not a legacy. Those are just things, right? So legacy is left in people. And so in order to have legacy in your business, you need to grow people and you need to have an impact on people and on community and make a real change in people's lives because they endure from where you go, right? And so when I think about legacy, I think about community and what effect I'm having on the community of people that I am stewarding as the leader of them, as well as the community around us and how we're affecting our community, both municipally, provincially, nationally, internationally, and we want to make touches in all those areas. And I think when we're and this comes back to that servant leadership thing. Is just like in order to leave a legacy, you need to serve people and change lives. And so that's my ultimate goal in everything is how many lives did I change? That's
Yeah.
why I get excited to hire people because I know that their lives are going to be changed by coming into our community.
Oh,
And that's what
so
really
that's amazing. Yeah. And the best part is like just knowing you from RTA and conversations, like this is all real and this really is how you're running your business. And it's so authentic and amazing. And, Ed always talks about the ultra successful being supremely confident, but also supremely humble. And that is like you 1000%. So I just want to thank you. This has been fantastic. It's been an honor to have you on the show. It's good to have someone from across the border and to the north from Minnesota where I am. But
yeah, we can
yeah, yeah. We'll see you in a few days. But thank you so much. This was an honor. Thank you for sharing your story. And I think people have got many, many nuggets out of this. And just like Ed answering that question for you, profoundly changed trajectory of your business. I think a lot of people will hear this and have similar insights that'll transform things for them. So thank you, Jory. Thank you very much.
yeah, thanks, Kip. It was great.
All right. Awesome. Thanks so much.